All right, I'll give it a try.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
Do or do not. There is no try. We're probably all familiar with that. Now, what does that have to do with creative, being an entrepreneur, anything worthwhile? Well, you're going to want to stay right here, I promise. Yes, friends, it's episode 79. We're back at it, with the Create or Die podcast. Here we are. It's your boy, Ike. That's Mike without an M. So today, I teed us up with a little Yoda quote. And I've got one of my special, quasi guests with me today. Now, you may know him from Nirvana, or more recently, a little group called Foo Fighters. That's right, Mr. Dave Grohl. So let's hear what Dave has to say that has to relate with doing.
I have this theory that there's two types of people in the world. The type of person that when presented with an idea or a challenge, they say, okay, let's figure that out. Then there's the other type that immediately thinks of all the reasons why it can't be done. And I'm, of course, the type that just wants to figure it out. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. And it doesn't really matter what it is. I'm fucking confident or cocky enough that I feel like, okay, give it to me.
So whether it's cockiness or confidence, I don't know. But what is true, and what Dave and I definitely agree with, is that it's better to do or to believe or to build as opposed to just finding all the reasons why you can't. And that's something we've talked on this program before about, maybe not exactly in this way, but just how critical it is when you set out to do something, you got to believe you can do it, or at least believe you can find a way to get it done. And that comes with experience. That comes with, stretching yourself just a little bit. You hear about fake it until you make it. Now, I used to say that all the time. I've since learned that it's not that you're faking it till you make it. You just are getting a little ahead of your skis. You've done great things up to this point, right? So why in the hell can't you do the next step? You've done hard things, right? And what does it come down to? Sure, you might have to mess up a few times, and you can call that wasted money, or that time's down the sink or whatever, or, and I believe the term is down the drain, or you can say, guess what? Didn't work that time. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to iterate. I'm going to do something a little different. Let's try it from this approach, and we're going to get there. You look at people who are athletes, whether it's traditional team sports or it's extreme sports like snowboarding or skateboarding. How many times do these guys or gals get out there on their board and they try something? Now, they're not going to try some triple axle 720 inverted crazy trick the first time out. Once they get comfortable, they've done a couple of jumps, they've done a 360, they've dropped into the skate park, they've been on a half pipe and got a feel for it. They've landed some smaller things. They're working up to it. And so why can't that apply to business or design or art, music, car repair, plumbing, whatever it is that you do, you can apply that to it. Because in the end, there are very few things, right, where you really have to be like this freak of nature to be able to do it. Now, there's always going to be someone better than you out there. There's always going to be several people that are not as good as you at a lot of things. Now, the things that we're not going to do unless we have the right genes for it is we're not going to be able to go head to head against Shaq in his prime unless we're, 7 foot tall as well. If we're 5 foot nothing, chances of us being able to dunk over Shaq or something is nigh into impossible, right? But those are small things. Most of us have a brain. We have the use of our faculties. It's a huge blessing, and we're human. And even if we have some type of a limitation, look at these people who get out there, and I keep coming back to sports, but they've been paralyzed. They find a way to invent some kind of ski chair thing that they can go down the mountain on, or be towed behind a boat, or whatever. They find a way. They lose an arm. There are, in this day and age, different prosthetics that can be used to accomplish a lot of these things. And you've got people with brain implants that are controlling computers and potentially one day will be controlling an exosuit for themselves. These things are invented and created by people that are really no more smarter than you. They just believed in themselves. They picked a path to glean that knowledge, that experience. They tried something. Some people, were amazing, and they went to MIT and top of their class, and they were just built different, and maybe it came easier for them. But for the rest of us, we can build on the shoulders of giants. We don't have to invent these things from the ground up. Someone else has gotten us to this certain point. There are YouTube videos or, papers or mentors or, colleagues or co-conspirators who have the knowledge and the skills to complement what it is you do. And if you go into something with that kind of belief system, you're gonna be unstoppable. I've seen some amazing things in my day. There have been things that I've been blessed to see happen, thanks to my effort and belief in myself. But I've seen some even more amazing things from friends and colleagues and acquaintances who have done things that are just mind-blowing to me. I won't get into details about the exact scenarios, but founder of a previous company that I worked for, his co-founder, some of you are going to be familiar with this story, was faced with a diagnosis that was terminal in a matter of months. And this co-founder and friend, said, hey, we're not having that. This person, it needs to have more time. They're just too good of a human. I'm not willing to accept the doctor's and maybe even multiple specialists' opinion that there's no treatment. He's only got 6 months or whatever. And so he got together with other people from the organization, and they mapped it all out. Like, what are all the different treatment options that are out there? What are the experimental things? What can we learn about this illness, on our own? What can we Google? What kind of rabbit holes can we go down into? Pay $100 membership to, get access to these different papers that normally only doctors have. For so long, this information has been gated, and unless you have that magic degree, you don't get any access. Now, obviously, there are jobs like a doctor where, you want it to be regulated. You want people to have that degree. You want them to have gone through the rigorous program necessary to get to the point where they can be trusted to work on real humans and, things that count. But in this case, when you're talking a terminal diagnosis for a friend, a loved one, and you're just hitting up against a wall because of the status quo, these doctors or whoever who are saying, no, there's no hope, not even worth it, that takes an amazing resolve and determination and belief in oneself and or the people around them to make something happen. And so, the story goes that 6 months was extended to nearly 7 years of extra life, where this individual did some amazing things. His outlook on life was changed. He did a lot of good for a lot of people, and his impact continues to be felt to this day. And the fact that he didn't live longer was, obviously these things aren't in our control, but, he was trying to, I don't know exactly. I just know that, we make decisions. He decided to take kind of a quicker treatment to, because the disease had come back, and maybe that was too much of a load on his situation, and he deteriorated quickly, and unfortunately we lost him. But an extra 6+ years, that's amazing. And that's, we're talking life or death type of scenarios. And most things we're going to be faced with, they're not going to be that, when we go back to Dave Grohl's quote about basically, the fact that there's two different types of people. Someone who says, yeah, I can do that, we'll make it happen, we'll find a way, versus the other type that is just, the Karens of the world or whatever. And if that's your name, I apologize. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a unfortunate, term. But that are just basically saying, looking for ways and saying that, no, that's impossible, that's not going to happen. You want this designed, you want this app designed and built over a weekend. Yeah, impossible. I'm not even going to waste my brain cells to think of a way where that might be possible, because, just writing up the prompts for our user study is going to take 6 weeks or whatever. The people that have been kind of tied up into process and regulations and status quo and self-importance, patting themselves on the back, something I alluded to in the last episode. Basically, these designers who, just want to take the safe road and basically follow the path, the easier path. No, I don't want this to be another downer episode. This is an upper. This is one of those episodes where I want you to come away with the belief that you can do this. You can do whatever you put your mind to. You might be saying, my time has passed, I'm too old, my mind isn't quick enough. Who is gonna, ageism in the workplace, or all the different isms, whatever it may be, of why you can't do something. And just because I'm talking like I've got it all figured out, again, we know this, we've established this. I do not know everything by far. We know that. But I'm hoping that some of the things that I've learned that have benefited me will in turn help or benefit you. And that's all there is to it. And all I can say, and it's been backed up from others, is that, we can get all hippy-dippy with, the mind over matter and stuff, but as soon as you start telling yourself that you can't, well, your body, your mind is so powerful and wants to reinforce what it is you're saying about yourself. Now, I believe this is true on all different aspects. I unfortunately disparage myself when it comes to my physical fitness or health or whatever, and my body's like, okay, yep, we'll continue to make you hurt and be slow and sore and move around like you're 80 if that's what you want to be. But in those times where no, I'm young, I'm going to push through this, I'm going to find a way, I'm going to do some research on how can we improve muscles around the knee to lock in that patella and make my knees stronger so that I can handle more, whatever. There's a way, and we all have our hards, and we decide which ones we're going to choose, and it just depends on what we want bad enough. Now, obviously, I want to create things. Happens most of it while I'm sitting down in front of the computer, which doesn't work super great with being physically fit, and it's here I go, beating myself up. See, even in a podcast, I'm trying to pump us up, I go down. So it's a slippery slope. I can eat less, I can eat healthier, I can get up and walk around or do different things, for sure, for shizzle, okay? But I choose not to because I've picked something else or whatever. And I don't know why I'm getting the notifications. I told the computer to be quiet while I'm recording this. Guess I didn't push the right button. But I digress. So, in the end, we all have our excuses. We all have our things that are important to us or that we want to do. And I'm just saying, to agree with my friend who doesn't know me, Mr. Dave Grohl, that we can choose which of those two types of people we want to be. And I'm advocating for the former, to be a doer, to be someone who, is faced with a challenge, and that's the first step. You're presented with a challenge. Someone asks, can you do this? And you gotta look within yourself and decide, first, do I want to do this? I remember in my younger years hearing, at church or something, someone wanted to know of any computer experts. And I wanted to be known as hey, I've been around computers for 10 plus years and I can help you install your AOL, whatever, because it was like a pride thing that I wanted. Then I quickly found out that I don't want to go spend my time helping old people figure out how to get online. I'm sorry, I've got a family to take care of. I've got things that need to be done. It doesn't mean that I want to be a jerk, but let's let somebody else who has that time raise their hand, be able to be applauded as oh, you're the computer guy, or you're the best artist or designer or whatever. So those are things that we have to think about. Maybe you're presented with a problem at work, but you already have your client list full. You've got, your next 6 months planned out. There's no more room for other projects. Someone comes to you with this crazy project and is trying to appeal to your ego, well, do you think you can do it? Well, it's not a question of can I do it, it's do I want to do it. So you got to figure that out. So just because you can do something doesn't mean you want to do it. in the example of Yoda, right? Do or do not. That saying, words of wisdom there, came after Luke, who wanted to get his X-Wing out of the swamp more than anything, just about. He tried, but his mind was telling him that it's just too big, he can't do it. And Yoda says, well, try, do it again, basically. And Luke was like, okay, I'll try. And that's where Yoda came in, and he's like, no, do. There is no try. So, go rewatch it. It's awesome. But it was something that needed to be done and was a critical thing. But once we've decided we do want to do this thing, whatever it is, and we believe that it's possible, some other human or group of humans have done it, so there's no reason why I and my team or my virtual AI team can't accomplish this if we think out of the box. So let me just pose you with like a real world example. Okay. So a few years ago, I was tasked with the daunting, which initially I didn't think it was that big of an ask, but it turned out to be daunting task of creating or having designed and built by somebody like a half dozen awards, not the stupid acrylic award that's laser etched and just says something and people set it on their desk for a couple weeks and then they throw it in the trash because they've got 10 more like it or whatever. It's not that. Something cool, something noteworthy, something that you would want to display proudly, that type of an award. And I think I had a budget of like $300 per, which sounded decent, but we started designing some stuff. I started designing some things. I can't remember if I involved my team or not, but that's beside the point. Regardless, we came up with some directions that looked pretty good and went to different vendors, and some of these things were up for interpretation. It wasn't like we were trying to pin these groups into something that couldn't be built or whatever. But what happened is, hey, we needed this in 6 weeks. From design to done, we need 6 in hand or whatever, 4 to 6 weeks. And we would hear from these different companies like, yeah, for that budget, basically all we can do is that standard acrylic or, wood placard type of thing that's super boring. And if you want something more custom and notable, well, it's going to be more like $5,000 a piece, and it's going to take like 6 months. And obviously that wasn't going to work. So I could have said, well, sorry, boss. There's no vendors that can do that in the time frame. So therefore, you're going to have to scratch the idea of giving out awards, or we're going to have to give out something, like everyone else gives out, which is why they do it, because that's pretty much all that's available and reasonable. But no, this was something, it was a personal challenge to me, it was something I knew was important to my boss, my team. And so I got thinking like, well, I'm crafty, I've done some things, I've watched The Craftsman on YouTube, and if you haven't watched it, check it out. It's awesome. Craftsman, Craftsman, Craftsman. Check that action out. Well, and I know because through my copious free time searching the interwebs, I've come across some things where people have gotten their hands dirty and produced some cool stuff. So other humans can do it. I want to do it. Check. We're going to find a way. So I got to work on looking for different items. So this was, for this award, we wanted it to be something tangible. And long story short, we ended up going with Bluetooth speaker, and this is one I had found at IKEA for $100 or sub $100, somewhere in there. And there was a plastic simple cover grill on the thing that you could remove, and then you see the exposed kind of speaker diaphragms, which is cool to look at, right? And then I got thinking, well, what if we created a custom face for this thing and integrated kind of some of the award, messaging into this. This was the Innovator Award. I have another Innovator Award back there. That was actually the first one where we didn't go as cool as we could have, and we did have a vendor do that. But anyways, this we had to make amazing. So I ended up contacting a company, through their website. Send, cut, send. And I say I contact like I was consulting them. No, I just created a quick vector that was close to what the final was going to be, put it in there. It did the automatic calculations, how much each of these are going to be. And so I got a price, and it worked out to be, say, $120 per, fairly thick, 1/8 of an inch plus thick brass laser cut grill. So here we had the $100 speaker, $125 brass. Now we just had to figure out a way to bring them together, because this speaker front was flat. It needed some type of tabs that would go into the IKEA speaker and hold it on there like it was designed to do that. So, I decided that we could get some brass dowels or metal stock that was the right thickness, cut those bad boys down, and then somehow weld them. And I was not a welder. I had done crappy welding back in 8th or 9th grade. And anyways, figure that crap out. I committed to it. I said, we're going to do this. And it took me a couple of weekends of failing with different types of welding or glues, or I ended up doing solder welding and got the right combination figured out. We made it work, got it on there, presented them, people loved them. It's the talk of the whole town. And then for the next couple of years, while I was still with the company, we continued to do those types of things. And now all of a sudden, my team, myself, whoever, we have this kind of reputation for doing some out-of-the-box cool things that no one else had seen. So over the years, I've posted it on social media, kind of told this story, and I get a lot of people that maybe aren't reading real carefully, and they see that and they're like, who was your vendor? Who did you go to get that? We need something like that. We're talking a dozen different people, companies, and I've told them, well, here's some of the subcontractors that I used, but ultimately it was me getting my hands dirty and figuring it out and making it happen. Saying that, yes, this is important, I can do it, I'm gonna do it. So what are those things in your life that you want to do, but you're not doing it? What can you sacrifice to make that happen? Some extra time? Can you sacrifice some sleep? And the beautiful thing about this is the more you learn, the more you push yourself, the quicker you get, the faster ideas come to you. You start to look at the world with a different lens, and you're able to, scope this stuff out in a way where you're not having to sacrifice weekends or whatever. Hey, these are the steps. I've gained this skill, or I've found some subcontractor who can do it for me, someone on our team, whatever. And next thing you know, it becomes a pretty good idea for a business that you could go do full time and make some dollar bills off of. Because that is where the best ideas come from. Necessity, right? The need for that crap. So that's one example of how this worked for me. I have dozens, and I shared the example of former founder and co-founder, and how the one helped the other extend his life by 6 years. So pretty cool. I think that's all I have for you, basically. That's pretty sad transition to going 100 miles an hour, saying we got you, we got some exciting stuff to share, and then all of a sudden we're done. What do we do? Tell me. Where's my sidekick? Supposed to keep me honest. No, but seriously, friends, this is what it's all about. It's your lens on the world, because these things that we ask ourselves to do, that we expect of ourselves, that we hear influencers out there telling us, you can achieve X if you do Y. It's hard, and it requires consistency, and that's why not everybody does it. And that's why I can sit here, or others, and can say, hey, it's that simple. You just do this. You want to grow your brand awareness? Well, just post this kind of stuff 3 to 5 times a day, and sure, it could take a few months to a year to really start gaining traction and seeing the real benefits for it, and at the same time, continue to offer a good product or service and get client work done, and billing, and I'm getting tired and thirsty just thinking about it, just talking about it. But guess what? There's a way. If we decide what's most important and the things we want to do, we can find a way. There's always more time, areas that we're wasting, and you might say, well, I'm working 23 out of the 24 hours in every day. Where's my time? I'm getting 1 hour of sleep. I'm this close to being hospitalized. Yeah. Well, that's where it comes to little optimization or prioritization of what it is we're doing. I love how Gary Vee and some of these other influencers, they're not taking hours and hours to craft themselves each one of their posts that they're going to put up every day to reach that 3 to 5 number on every channel. Instead, they're doing what they got to do. They're interacting with people, their team, customers, prospects, whatever, and they've got a camera on them constantly. Or they're thinking about that. When they talk to somebody, they find a new problem, something that someone's concerned about, they make a mental note, or talk into their phone and say, hey, this will make a good post one day. Because there's not enough time in the day, week, year, whatever, to wear all of these hats and give them like their own focus and dedication. And there is, a balance between quantity and quality. But quality doesn't necessarily mean, awesome production and post effects and animations and perfect titling. Quality can mean just the quality of the content delivered in a super quick, raw, unpolished way. And believe you me, I'm talking to myself just as much as I am any of all you all. Okay? So together, let's make a pact. Together, okay? Let's dig a little deeper. Let's try a little harder. Let's believe a little stronger. Sounds like the makings of a good song. See? There I am writing songs at the same time as I'm doing a podcast. But seriously, friends, just keep on creating. Create or die.